All right, today we're going to dive into a really powerful story. It's about a single historical event that honestly unfolds like a philosophical bombshell. It's all about an axe, a sacred oak tree, and, believe it or not, the felling of a god.
And this sentence right here, this is what we're all about today. It's an aphorism that comes from the story of St. Boniface, and it is just packed with meaning. On the surface, it sounds super simple, almost brutal. But as we're about to see, it works on so many different fascinating levels. So yeah, let's unpack it together.
So let's set the scene for this first layer, right? The literal showdown. Picture this. You've got St. Boniface. He's a Christian missionary, and he's standing in front of this community of Germanic pagans. And at the absolute center of their world, their most sacred idol, is this colossal oak tree dedicated to the god Thor.
Now you really got to understand what this tree was to them. It wasn't just a big piece of wood. No way. This was the physical embodiment of their god. It was the symbol of their highest law, their oldest, most ancient power. It was literally the anchor for their entire culture.
And this is where it gets so interesting. On one side, you have the oak. It represents this belief in an eternal, totally unshakable divine power. And on the other side, the axe. It represents a single decisive action from just one determined person. This was a direct physical test of power. So who's going to win?
Well, what happened next was profound. Boniface just takes his axe to the tree, and the god, Thor, does absolutely nothing. The symbol was totally powerless to protect itself. The supposedly great eternal power was cut down by one person, right in front of everybody. And in that single act, the belief was exposed for what it was, a lie. The idol was just a tree.
Okay, so that literal confrontation, that sets the stage for a much deeper, more metaphorical layer. See, this story isn't just about a tree. It's really about felling an idea. It's about completely flipping our understanding of what power even is.
So now the symbols themselves start to mean something else entirely. The oak isn't just a tree anymore, it represents the huge, heavy weight of tradition, the inertia of old, established values that don't want to move. And the axe, it becomes something more too. It's the might of a new, revolutionary idea that can just slice right through that inertia.
And this is the crucial flip, the big inversion of power. The aphorism is suggesting that real strength doesn't come from inheriting some old authority, like being the son of the Almighty. Nope. It comes from the active, creative will, the will to go out and forge a new reality, even if that means you have to destroy the old one first.
This act of turning everything on its head, well, it brings us to the deepest, most philosophical layer of this story. It's a massive revolution in thinking, one that perfectly illustrates a concept that the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche would later call the Transvaluation of Values.
So we have to ask ourselves this question. We've seen the literal and the metaphorical, but on a philosophical level, what does it really mean to fell a god?
Well, the answer is right here in this concept, the transvaluation of values. This is the act of completely reevaluating everything a society holds sacred. You don't just question the rules. You literally shatter the very foundation of the old morality to create space for something brand new. Boniface's act, it's a perfect physical example of this in action.
And the way he did it was just brilliant. He didn't just stand there and argue against the old god. He used the culture's most sacred symbol, the oak itself, and he turned it against them. By showing it was just wood, he demonstrated how powerless their entire moral framework was, shattering it from the inside out.
Okay, so this leads us to our final big idea. You've broken the old world. Now what? How do you actually build the new one? Well, the story of the oak gives us a really powerful answer. Creation comes directly from destruction.
Nietzsche's Zarathustra puts it perfectly. The creator is also a destroyer. It makes sense, right? You can't build something truly new on top of old, crumbling foundations. You've got to clear the space first. Boniface had to be a destroyer of the old faith so that he could become a creator of the new one.
And what Boniface did next is just fascinating. He didn't just leave the old god in ruins on the forest floor. He took the rubble, the actual wood from that sacred oak, and he repurposed it. He used the pieces of the old world to literally build the new one, a Christian church, right on that very spot.
And that just illustrates the final point so beautifully. The new is literally built from the remains of the old. The old god, whose highest law was so weak it couldn't even protect its own tree, had to die. Its failure was the very foundation upon which the new god could stand.
So, to bring it all home, what does this one little aphorism really show us? Well, it reveals that even the most sacred beliefs are vulnerable to direct action, that the will of a single individual can overcome centuries of tradition, that if you want real, transformative change, you have to reevaluate your most sacred values. And that, ultimately, creation and destruction are really just two sides of the same coin.
And all of that leaves us with a pretty big question to think about for our own time. If the oak represents a long-held sacred belief, and the axe represents a new, challenging idea, what kind of sacred oaks are standing in our world today? And maybe, more importantly, what new axes are being sharpened to challenge them?